methods of ensuring the ability of the public to comment prior to and during the virtual meeting. It has established these options. Do we have the slide up for that? Okay, great. So during the meeting, the public can provide public comments via telephone by calling 1-415-655-002. The meeting ID number is 172-266-5989. Individuals will be able to speak for 3 minutes during the public comment period. Again, to make a public comment today during the meeting, members of the public should call 1-415-655-0002. Meeting ID 172-266-5989. The second option allowed for the public to submit written comments prior to the meeting is by mail to PSTA. The third option allows the public to submit comments by email before or during the meeting at publiccomments@psta.net. If the emailed public comments are received before or during the meeting are 400 words or less, we will read them aloud during the meeting during the appropriate time for public comment. Public comments that exceed 400 words will be provided to the board members in writing. Any documents that the public submitted to the clerk have been provided to the board members prior to this meeting. All comments submitted will be included as part of the public record for this meeting and will be considered by the committee prior to any action taken. When addressing the committee, the member of the public must first state his or her name and his or her address. And then I guess it's time for the call to order.
Yes. Can you guys hear me now? I have my phone as a microphone.
Oh,
sounds
there
great.
we are. I hear you now, Duncan.
All right. Well, then why don't I take it from here? It's silly as it seems. I've got my camera and then I've got my phone as a microphone. So it shows me logged in twice, but I can go ahead and run the quorum list then if we're ready. Then let's go ahead and start. What I ask y'all to do is unmute and we'll just take attendance. When you get a chance, I'll call your name, just say here, and we're just verifying that we can hear you and that you can hear me. Obviously, I'm here. Chelsea, we heard that we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Roman, I see you're here.
I'm here.
Hey, great. Thanks. Deborah?
Here.
There we are. Gloria?
Here.
Hi, Gloria. Andrea? There you
Here.
go. Great. We hear you. Jason, I saw you. Go ahead and unmute and say hi. Jason? Oh, can't hear you. Jason? Can you hear us? There you are. Go ahead and say hi.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can now.
Okay, I'm here.
Great. Thanks, Jason. Mark O'Hara?
I'm here.
Great. Maxwell, where are you, Max? I didn't see you. Where are you? Not here? Teresa Dunphy, where's Teresa? I don't see Teresa. Sebastian, I saw you.
Yes.
There we are. Edwin. I don't see Edwin. We know Mary.
Edwin will be in shortly. Edwin will be in shortly.
Okay, great. I know Mary Young is not coming. Mary is not here, right? Did not drop in. Michael Davenport?
Here.
There we are. Mark Boyce, the other Mark. Go ahead, say here, Mark. I can see you. Mark Boyce. There you are. And Kim. Last but not least. Thanks, Kim.
Duncan.
Sounds like all of us can hear and speak. So if we need to have a vote or a conversation, we're all here. And
Duncan.
That's it.
All right.
Yeah.
Then let's go ahead and everybody mute and let's get started. Are we set? The first thing to do is to check, was there any public comment now that we ran through it? Are there any emails, snail mail, or did anyone call in the last 15 seconds?
No public comment.
Chair
Okay, great.
Kovar, there are no public comments.
Great. All right. Thank you. Then let's go ahead and get started with business. And the first order of business, once again, is me giving the summary. You guys, there was a board meeting May 26th. What is that? A couple weeks ago. And again, I represent us to the board, and then I come back and represent the board to you. So in a couple weeks, I will be giving the summary of this meeting to them. The board meetings are on YouTube, so if you're interested, by all means, tune in, and they have public comment, so we can be advocating for us there. Brad, where are you? You made a great presentation about the TBBJ, Tampa Bay Business Journal, wrote an article about how important transit is for job creation. And this is the argument we've been having since the days of green light, when the opponents say, transit just spends money, it doesn't make money. And finally, we've got folks on that side, the Business Journal, saying, no, it is a job creator. It is the engine that, what a great article. And the action item was to upgrade the Microsoft licenses due to, everybody knows the news about ransomware, and make sure that we're at the current release for that. There was a presentation from Bonnie Epstein. I'm thinking we saw this presentation about the paratransit system software. So again, I think we get to see often things first, and then they roll to the board. They kind of practice on us. But Bonnie gave the presentation on the software for paratransit. And then finally, Cassandra, again, what a great presentation about fair equity, running that by the board. I wish I could have been more support for you about using Flamingo Fair, aiming to, trying to figure out how to go to a fairless system. Boy, I hope we can work that out. And Cassandra, I know you're going to talk some more about that today. That was what the board meeting was. Again, I invite all of you guys to tune in and see the big boys, our boss, I guess. With that, then let me turn it over to Gloria. I missed the meeting last month, and I may miss this month's meeting. Can you tell us about CAC and about the LCB?
Sure. Well, the LCB only meets once a quarter, so there wasn't a meeting of that. Right. But there was a meeting. You just talked about the board, the PSTA board being on the 26th. The CAC was on the 27th, so it was at the end of May, and in fact it'll be our last meeting until August, and in August it will be an actual a 100% in-person meeting. We still were doing the hybrid meetings, and as it turned out, we did not have a quorum in the meeting room, and so we couldn't vote on anything, but we had a couple of interesting presentations. And one that I think everyone can relate to is there was one from FDOT talking about the programs they're putting together for wrong way driver prevention, with all the lights, with some of the ramps onto the expressways. And it's a really interesting program, and basically to really, signal to someone if they're in the wrong, if they're going on an exit ramp to go onto the expressway. And then they also had a presentation from FDOT about the 5th Avenue North lane repurposing.
This meeting is being recorded.
Sorry, hold on. It just said recording. That's not something I'm that familiar with. It's a St. Pete thing, and so but it says that FDOT did a study of that roadway and found that they recommended that a two-way separated bicycle facility be put in, and that there be repurposed some lanes and a future rail trail west of 16th Street North. So anyway, that's available through Forward Pinellas if you want to see anything about that, those of you who are St. Pete. And then the last presentation was regarding countywide plan and other land use planning functions. And again, that's something that we keep asking for, is that, land use planning is making sure that transit and roadways and what the zoning of land is, that they all match each other. And so that was an interesting discussion that happened there. So that was
Thank you, Gloria. And I'll remind everybody that we're invited, even though Gloria and I sit sort of as this official TRAC liaison seat. We're all invited just as citizens to participate there. That is the kind of an umbrella group that they handle both transit and then bicycle paths and ponds and parks and sidewalks and also the land use. And in many counties, those two boards sit separately and then sort of argue with each other, because the transit people are saying, we're going to widen a certain road, and other people saying, really, we're going to demolish all the buildings on that street. You know, so by having Forward Pinellas of all the counties in Florida is one of the leading insightful ones to put those two boards together and have land use and the other work together. Consequently, it's really cool to sit on that citizen version and get these presentations. It's where the term transit-oriented development, it's the only place in the county to carry that flame. It's not enough to run a bus down 34th Street if all we're gonna do is build car-centric Home Depots and self-storage buildings. That's the place to get that new generation started.
By the way, Duncan, one other thing I forgot to mention. You'd asked about whether there was any notice from the LCB, the local coordinating board, which deals with the TD type programs. And that's where I had heard about TD Tampa Bay that I told you all was a fabulous program for, cross-county travel, basically the regional paratransit we've been asking for. Well, just before this
The
meeting,
recording has stopped.
I got a very unpleasant email that said that program has been discontinued because our wonderful legislature didn't authorize through Senate Bills 100 and 1126. They repealed the funding that covered TD Tampa Bay. So we no longer have regional paratransit again. So I'm very disappointed, and I don't know what we need to do to scream for that, but I wanted to let you all know that too.
So the place I think we can impact that most would be on election day, to find folks that are more interested in supporting them.
Hopefully, that's right.
How frustrating.
Yeah. I'd even tried the program several times. I'd gone to Hillsborough, I'd gone to Pasco, very purposefully to try and see how that program worked. And it was really nice to have that as an option. Not anymore. So anyway, that's all.
Well, I'm sorry to have to kind of compose myself for a second. Darn it. All right, well, thank you, Gloria. And does anyone have any questions on the stuff that Gloria reported on?
Yeah, I do. Is this the same thing as the T-Barter is running, or has that been?
That's a T-Barter's program that's what did not get funded.
It just got started, and then they canceled it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that no longer exists.
July 1st. It ends July 1st.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, they barely got the engine warm. And
I know.
Yeah. Forward Pinellas sort of sits in the middle. They have a liaison into the regional stuff like T-Barta, and so that's how they got involved in that program. Okay, good question. Thank you. Then if there are no other questions, then let's go ahead and start with the formal agenda. Everybody should have gotten a packet from Mary Ann. Thank you very much. The first item is about safe streets. I saw Sarah Cooper. Are you here? I saw you.
Hi.
Oh, there you are.
Yep.
Go ahead. Let me mute, and I'll let you start your presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for having me today. And I think Whip Landon is also joining us this afternoon as well to speak about our Safe Streets Pinellas effort. I know we spoke with you last year on this as well to provide you an update on where we are and where we're going. So Vision Zero, as many of you know, is a transportation safety philosophy that's based on the idea that it's not okay to lose your life for the sake of mobility or to be severely injured while you're traveling. Next slide. And so why it's so important in Pinellas County, it's probably not a surprise to you to hear that on average, 2 people are killed or severely injured in collisions every day in Pinellas County. While the collisions do involve all types of modes, so people in cars, on bikes, pedestrians, motorcyclists, they impact our vulnerable roadway users, the people who are biking, walking, or on motorcycles, much more than all collisions do, which you can see in the chart here. Next slide. In March, the Forward Pinellas Board adopted a goal of 0 deaths and serious injuries by 2045, and at the same time adopted an action plan to help us get to that goal. Next slide. Included in the action plan is our high injury network. These are the corridors that we're going to focus on, as well as hotspot locations or dots that we're also going to focus on. We know this isn't all of the areas with problems, but about 40% of our killed or severely injured collisions do happen on the high injury network. Overlaid with this map are our communities of concern. These are areas with higher than average low income and minority populations, and we find they're much more impacted by the high injury network than the county as a whole. Next slide. And you can see that here, 73% of the high injury network bounds or runs through a community of concern, even though that's only 32% of the county's area. So this gives us an area to focus on and something that we can address, especially from an equity perspective as well. Next slide. And not a surprise probably to any of you, speed is something we see that's a very common factor on the high injury network. 87% of the high injury network has speed limits of 40 miles per hour or higher. And that's just the speed limit. We know oftentimes people are going faster than the speed limit. And about 2/3 of the high injury network has a speed limit of 45 miles per hour or higher. Next slide. Included in the action plan is this map, and you can find the action plan. I'll have a link to our website at the end of the presentation. But we do have a series of maps. One of them does focus on transit stops and how they relate to the high injury network and hot stops. So you can see here the dots of all the transit stops and their ridership. So the bigger the dot is, the more ridership there is at a particular stop. And under that, you can see a gray line and gray dots of the high injury network and hotspots. And there definitely is a correlation on some of these between lots of stops and the high injury network and hotspots. Next slide. As part of our effort, I wanted to mention that we're doing demonstration projects. The demonstration projects have been to test different countermeasures that are included in the plan and to build awareness and strengthen community partnerships. We have adopted the plan, but we're still completing a couple of the demonstration projects, and we hope to continue them moving forward. Next slide. One of the ones we did last year was at Nursery Road and the Duke Energy Trail at an RRFB, a rectangular rapid flashing beacon that the county was already going to be installing. And we worked on an education event. A woman lost her life here, a bicyclist, and her family came out for the unveiling of the RRFB and to say a few words. And we also provided education materials to people crossing. Next slide. We're working on a demonstration project with the Florida Department of Transportation and the City of Indian Rocks Beach. While they do the resurfacing in Gulf Boulevard, they're going to add some additional crosswalks and some green bike lanes in a certain area of this section. And we've been doing for all of these before and after to see if there's any impact for the time period that we're evaluating. Next slide. Another type of demonstration project is one that we're doing with the City of St. Petersburg in downtown St. Pete on 1st Avenue South and 2nd Street South, where the Pinellas Trail is. We're looking at doing elements of a protected intersection. So as part of the demonstration project, St. Pete was willing to work with us and actually help make this happen. So it is in a design build process, and we anticipate it coming live later this summer. Next slide. The final type of demonstration project that we did as part of the development of the action plan and that are continuing through the implementation is at Alt US 19 in Curlew. We used video analytic cameras to help us see what was happening. So they were out for about 2 days, a couple different times, and we were able to observe different things like red light running, people crossing against a signal, speeding and how fast people were speeding, and also near misses. We saw a lot of near misses with left turning motions, but we were able to get a better idea of them also with people in the crosswalk and right turns and things like that. Next slide. So all of this and the other analysis we did as part of the process, and Gloria served on a 16-member task force that helped us develop the plan, was to come up with some actions and countermeasures. And for the countermeasures, we really focused on what can Forward Pinellas do in our role and how we can support our partners who own and operate and implement a lot of these changes. And then also making sure we can measure our progress at an appropriate time. Next slide. Here's just a look at one of the engineering countermeasure pages from the action plan. So we talked about a type of collision, what was the factors we found to be contributing to that, the top factors, and then a set of engineering countermeasures that go with a toolbox in the appendix that might be helpful in this particular situation. We also had non-engineering countermeasures, which are very important as well, related to things like education, legislative change, related to emergency management, and things that might not be a physical change on the ground. Next slide. In the action plan, we have these categories of elements. And so for each action, they fall in one of these categories, and we have information about them. And I have an example for you on the next slide. It's one that relates to transit. So this is under the street and roadway design category. The action relates to collaborating with PSTA on a detailed analysis of stop locations on the high injury network. Then we have a performance measure, so a report that identifies potential stop improvements, that we should start this within 1 year of the plan adoption, and that this is a partnership between Forward, Pinellas, and PSTA. We will evaluate all of our actions throughout the process to see if we're meeting the performance measure to meet our timeline or if we need to make changes. And now we're working towards implementation. We've reached out to partner agencies like PSTA. We've also been reaching out to our local government partners with a request for a resolution of support with the same goal of 0 deaths or serious injuries by 2045. And we're also asking that they think about comprehensive plan policies and other changes that they can make, and we have some drafts of those for our local governments as well. Later this year, we'll establish a working group to help us evaluate our progress and make sure that we are staying on track. One of the things that's most important about a Vision Zero effort like this is having diverse partners, including emergency management, including law enforcement, including equity, including the public, the business community, a range of partners working together to get to zero. And then finally, we're going to hopefully continue with the demonstration projects in addition to the ones we're finishing, and then take steps to address the high injury network and hotspots. Next slide. And so I want to thank you today and see if you have any questions. Here's the website where you can find the action plan. And I also wanted to see, Whit, if you're on, if you wanted to say anything about this.
Yeah, let's go ahead and open this to questions for anyone here. And by the way, Forward Pinellas is great. If all of these plans are always on their website, maps and layouts and PowerPoints and all of this. If you're ever curious about what's going on in the county in the next year or 5 years, these even conceptual things are out there. Does anyone have a question for Sarah? Or for Whit, right? Then if I can take a second and say, I love the stuff that we're doing, but my personal preference, more from Forward Pinellas than from TRAC, is when we do something outside the box. There's an apocryphal statement that was applied to Henry Ford that said, if I gave my customers what they'd want, it'd been a faster horse and buggy instead of a car. The two things that always strike me is how much money is spent on better and better red-green light intersections when we know a roundabout is so much safer because it eliminates T-bones and left turns and crossovers and smart left turn arrows and all of that stuff, except they're just not accepted yet in America. And that's what I mean by outside the box. And the other one, Whit, I heard you present that we were going to try something up at Curlew in 19 with, and I forget what you called it, a shootout across where we turned all the lights red and let the pedestrians all go at once. And that to me represents thinking outside the box. Let's try something totally new as part of Zero. That's what I love anytime I see anything like that. I'm always thinking, yeah, we're doing the right thing. Whit, if you could, or Sarah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm outside. So that's a pedestrian scramble is what it's called.
Scramble.
Yeah, and there's one in downtown Orlando at Orange Avenue and Church Street if you ever get over that way. But it's really a nice technique to allow people to cross diagonally or with the crosswalks. And you can save a lot of travel time for the motorist because all the pedestrian movements happen at once. And you also shorten the time waiting for pedestrians because you don't have to cross one leg at a time and wait for the cycle for the pedestrian signal each time. And we think Curlew and Alt 19 is a good location for that. because there's so many movements in all directions. It's not just people on the trail going north-south. There's a lot of people wanting to go to Honeymoon Island. And when you have that kind of, diversity of destinations, a scramble can be an effective tool. So DOT is considering it and they're looking into it further.
Yeah. And that's, to me, that's the kind of exciting stuff that I see when someone does something, out of the ordinary, try something new. That's always cool. So I'm glad to see all the stuff we're doing and also taking into account other partners. The more input from stakeholders, the better off we are. Sarah, thanks. That was a great presentation. Anyone else have a question about Safe Streets and Vision Zero? If not, that was great. Again, all of this stuff is on the Forward Pinellas website. You've got the URL in your packet that Mary Ann sent you. Then thank you.
Thank you. If I can make a quick plug while I'm here, we just opened a survey for our downtown St. Pete mobility study. So if anyone is interested in learning more about the study, go to forwardpinellas.org/DTSP. I'll put it in the chat, but we have a survey and listening sessions coming up this month.
And we'll have Mary Ann mail that out to all of us. She's really good at poking us with stuff like that. All right, very good, Sarah. Thank you, and whatever we can do to help. Then thanks. Very good. Then let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Cassandra, you're going to talk to us about Flamingo Fair. This is specifically the program. Everyone try and make the distinction. The third item we're going to talk about is our use as fairs go back into use here shortly. As members of TRAC, we used to get GO passes, and now we'll be getting Flamingo Fairs. Let's separate those two items. Let's talk about just the program, how it affects everybody in the county, what's going to happen. Can we use it as part of the free fair program? Blah, blah, blah. But let's separate that from the second part, which is just what's in it for me? How are they going to help us get to use it? Thank you. Cassandra, if you want to do the program and what we do to help you. How can we help you?
Thank you so much, Chair Kovar. That was just such a great introduction and right on target. I just want to take a step back for just a second and thanks, Sarah, for being here this afternoon. What they're doing at Forward Pinellas is so important to us. And looking at Vision Zero and how we can make the streets safe for pedestrians is so critical to all our transit riders. And so I really appreciate her presentation. And please go take a look at what she put in the chat about the downtown mobility study. We're working very closely with Forward Pinellas on this. And I think from what she showed me, she's going to have some great public opportunities to workshop some of the things, some of the recommendations they have for downtown. And again, making this just once again, the best place in the Tampa Bay region to live. So, and thank you, Chair, for making the distinction between the next two items that we have on our agenda. The first item is about the Flamingo Fair and the fair policy that we've established and some changes that we'd like to make just before we head into launching fairs. As you know, we've been free since March 19th of 2021, and that's been primarily due to COVID, but we did plan to launch Flamingo Fairs in early 2020, and we're excited to bring that to you today. The item immediately following is very focused on how we're going to get the TRAC their fair media and very specific to you all. So next slide, please.
If I can interrupt, is it really been 15 months that we've been fare free?
It has. Isn't that amazing? Wow. We've probably been fare free longer than most systems, if not all, it feels like, in the US, but based on our leadership and cases in the community, we felt like this has been great. This has been the right thing to do, keep it fare free. And very specifically, launching Flamingo now has been so crucial to us resuming fares because it is a contactless system. And you can see even from my slide, we have come such a long way in fare collection, from just a simple box on a simple bus to something really high tech that's really going to help us not just with fares and giving people the best opportunity to get the best fare, but also giving us a lot of data and a lot of information about where people are going, so we can do a better job of scheduling routes, of creating new services. And I think this will really help us serve the community of Pinellas County. Next slide, please. So we did come to the board and we came to you all in 2020 just to get the ball rolling with Flamingo. And we introduced the best fare capping option in the system that we're putting in place. And that best fare feature of Flamingo is that you never pay more than 1 day in 1 day, and you never pay to ride more than a month. So if you're regularly using a 7-day pass and you are using that every day, you're only going to pay $5 a day, and you're never going to pay more than $70 a month. You're always going to get the best fare, and this is really what Flamingo is about. So in 2020, we introduced that concept, changed some of the fares that we had proposed in terms of the regular service, reduced service. We eliminated the 3-day and 7-day passes. And all of this was ready to go with the launch of Flamingo. And so you'll notice we haven't done this yet because the fare policy says when Flamingo launches, we would eliminate the 3-day and 7-day pass. We would add a group pass, which is up to 5 people. Do not have to be related. Just get on 1-day pass for your whole entire group. We would keep the PSTA and the HART passport, and we had an effective date of the Flamingo launch to transition to this all. Next slide, please. So there are 4 additional changes that we'd like to make now, and this is the recommendation that we're going to make to you and to the committee, the planning committee tomorrow to make to the board. And the first one is to charge $3 for an extended use card. So these are the plastic use cards that are the tap cards that people would use for their Flamingo Fares account. The app is still available and there would be no charge for the app. But these cards and the manufacturing of these cards do cost us money, and we're just looking to recover the cost of that funding. However, as part of the launch of Flamingo, we would have a free card distribution. And we would encourage people to register their cards so they have that balance protection. And we would start charging people for the cards in September. So even though we're going to start to charge fares at July 5th is the plan, people who get the Flamingo card and then use it would not actually be charged for their ride until September 1st. And so we wouldn't actually charge for the cards until September 1st. Separately, transportation disadvantaged riders would receive their first card free, whether they're getting it now or they're getting it 6 months from now. If they join the program, they would get their first card free. We would encourage them to hold on to that card and charge them for a replacement card if they lost or damaged their card. Next slide, please. The second change that we'd like to make is to build on the success of our Mobility on Demand program. So this is part of our PSTA Access family of services, which is most focused on paratransit. And right now, our paratransit service, to take a ride on the paratransit service, is $4.50. Because we've had so much success with the Mobility on Demand service, and these services are lower cost for us to provide, we'd like to give people an opportunity and incentivize the use of the Mobility on Demand services by providing it at a lower cost per ride. And so that is a proposal that we've put into this list of changes. Next slide, please. The third is the elimination of our magnetic stripe cards. So the cards that you know today, we're recommending that we don't use them any longer. We haven't been selling them for more than a year, and we would have to replenish our entire stock just for a very short period of time, because we really do want to give people that best fare option to get on the Flamingo media and the Flamingo accounts. So we're recommending that we no longer sell these at the PSTA centers. We transition as many people as possible to Flamingo, but we would still continue to accept these cards. When we when the pandemic started and we eliminated fares, many people had already stocked up on some of the magnetic stripe cards, and we don't want anybody to lose the value that they've put into our system. And so we'd like people to be able to have some time to be able to use those. We will accept those through the end of this calendar year. We may extend that, but at this point, we're recommending that we stop accepting them at the end of the year. Next slide, please. And our fourth recommendation in this fare change, and this was really an opportunity for us to have a discussion at the board level about how we serve all of our members of our community, including school-age children. So right now, our policy is that children under 5 ride free with a fare-paying adult. We looked at 17 different agencies across the US to see what their age for independent riding would be. And we looked at the way that they addressed this in their policies. And it seems that most of them address it in their fare policy and in their rider code of conduct, encouraging adults to ride with their children, but in some cases that's not possible. So some families may have older siblings that take younger siblings to work. We want to make sure that those riders can continue to use our service in the best way possible. And so we're recommending that we increase the age for children to ride free to 8. But encouraging them to come with a fare-paying passenger. So we would change that in our fare policy to allow that to happen based on our research nationally, and also our discussion with our operators and how they are trained to talk to the children, make sure that they know where they're going, but also make sure that everybody is safe. And we are considered a safe place. So operators are trained to identify issues with passengers regardless of age. And we want to continue that, but also make it easier for people to take their children on the bus. And so our recommendation is to increase the age to 8 with a fare-paying passenger. And so those children would ride free. Next slide, please. So moving forward, our proposal is that we launch Flamingo officially on July 5th, 2021, adding the 2 options of 8 years and younger children ride free, and the mobility on demand service would be $3.50 per ride. The rest of the fare table was already approved in January, and again, allows us to give the best fare to our riders every single time they ride. Next slide, please. So even though you don't have action items, we can talk about the proposals and offer by consensus some advice to the board, to the planning committee tomorrow morning about first recommending that the board approve the revised fare policy, and secondly, approve the Title VI analysis. So every time we make an adjustment to our fare policy that requires a fare change, and in this case, it's the $3 card charge, we do an equity analysis. And in this case, we found no disparate impact to a minority or low income populations. And so we feel very confident about moving forward with these proposals. And with that, I will gladly take your questions about the policy and then follow up with how are you going to get your cards?
Well, first off, we'll open it to questions, but let me say I love the amount of analysis that's gone into it. And Flamingo is so wonderful. One of the problems of being poor is often it's hard to be poor. You have to make that bet at the beginning of the month. Should I buy a monthly pass? Should I buy a weekly pass? I know often as I get on the bus, I think, well, today's the day I'm going to go and spend the night somewhere. So I buy a one-way and oops, I can't spend the night. Now I have to buy the back. I mean, here the fare is going to take care of itself. If you end up riding back home, it's free, you know. I don't have to decide. I don't have to be betting as I get on the bus whether I'm going to take 3 legs or 2 or if I'm coming home or not. Just scan my phone and get on the bus, you know, board and go. That's wonderful. Let's open it up for questions. And remember, at the end of it, we're going to look for a consensus of approving this as a informal approval. Questions or comments for Cassandra and their team?
Yes.
Gloria first, and then
Let Kim go first.
Okay, Kim.
Okay. With the introduction of Flamingo fares, will dark hearts still be accepted for PSTA access?
Yes, so at this time, there is no change to PSTA access paratransit, and you as members will still receive your multi-trip cards, as will anyone else riding our paratransit service. So at this time, there's no change to paratransit.
So paratransit will not be using Flamingo? They'll continue to use the 10 fare?
Yes, that is correct.
I see, okay. And is at some point we'll swap over then to the phone or for Dart? What is the thought on that, Cassandra?
Well, I think we're not quite there yet. With our new vendor on board, we're still trying to make sure that everything's working just right, and we'll one step at a time.
Perfect, great, I understand.
Yeah.
And Kim, does that answer your question? Great, then Gloria, if you want to take a shot.
I had two questions, or one question, one comment. One question was when you were talking about the go-karts and how people were going to continue to be able to use them for a while. Why can't a system be set up where people can cash in their go-karts for credit on their Flamingo account?
So
then you could sort of speed that out.
We wanted to give people an opportunity to use them first, because we thought that our service centers would be very busy with trying to just distribute Flamingo cards, and wanted to make sure that everybody got an opportunity to talk to the people that could help them. And so we thought it would be best to allow people to use those. If anyone has a Go card on January 1st and comes to a service center and it hasn't been used, we'll make sure that they do get some credit on their Flamingo account.
Okay, good, thank you. And then the other thing is the kind of thing where I would love to ask that you have some beta testing of the location of the readers, because people in wheelchairs cannot always reach. Sometimes they put the readers so far out that from a wheelchair you can't easily get to it. And so I want to make sure that somebody's beta testing that on the buses. So it's not just for standing passengers, because I need to swipe my card or my app.
That's a great point. And I think that is one of the reasons, one of the many reasons that we decided to offer this very long period of free rides with a Flamingo account. We have beta tested the system over the last couple years, a number of times at different points. And it's always something a little bit different. But now we're going to have a general population using the service and using the system. And by everyone tapping the cards or using their mobile app, we think we can get a very clear indication of where there might be additional issues in the system, and we can clear those up before people are actually charged for the ride. And so it was very strategic on our part to offer the additional 2 months free to make sure that we could get through the majority of our glitches before people are charged for their ride. And so that's certainly something that we can look into. I'll send a note to our maintenance director after this meeting.
Yeah, because I
Thanks,
had
Gloria.
that experience, yeah.
But that's important, and it's one thing for you to get on, and it's another thing for all of the other people to get on and make sure that we're doing the best that we can in all aspects.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Anyone else? A question or a comment?
Yes, I have a question. With the Flamingo card, it basically looks like a credit card that you put money onto, and so therefore you might have your $70, monthly pass. Are you going to have kiosks set up at the service center so that we can just automatically do this ourselves rather than having to see a person?
Well, we will not have kiosks. However, we will have many opportunities for people to recharge their cards. First and foremost, we would encourage people to go online, whether you register your card or not. And we do encourage people to register their cards because that's how you have the balance protection. However, even if you don't feel that you want to register your card, you can go online, type your card number in, and recharge that card. And so your kiosk, every computer becomes a kiosk.
Okay,
Secondly, people can go to our service centers and recharge the card. They can use cash right there and have the customer service agent help them. In addition to that, we are going to also have a retail network where you will be able to recharge your cards at almost 90 locations across Pinellas County. These include some convenience stores that will have cards for purchase, as well as opportunities to recharge at Amscott's and 7-Elevens. And so just in the last few weeks, we've been testing the recharge options at those Amscott's and 7-Elevens. And so you'll have many opportunities, whether you have a computer or not, to make sure that you can recharge your card, whether you have a debit card or whether you want to load cash on there.
Right. Obviously, if the folks we're worried about are those that are only working in cash are going to need to go somewhere. So Amscott, 7-Eleven, or one of the hubs, which folks that take transit all the time, sooner or later, they end up at Grand Central or downtown Clearwater, sooner or later, Williams Park.
Well, and again, you don't have to put a $70 fee upfront on your card. If you wanted to load $10 or $15 at a time, you can absolutely do that. If you wanted to build up your account, you could do that. It allows the rider to have the maximum flexibility. And so, I mean, I think the greatest example that we gave last time, which is still the one that I like to use, is for people who can't come up with $70 for the month and they're buying a $25 7-day pass, they would pay $25 the first week, $25 the second week, $20 the third week, and nothing the fourth week. And so when they're usually paying $100 to ride, because they can't come up with 70 at the beginning of the month, now they're able to ride for that monthly pass.
Right.
And we think that that's the best thing that we can do for our riders.
Yeah, I have a question if.
Yeah, Max. Right, please.
How is this going to affect the free college riding? Are we going to just get away from the ID cards for that purpose and go to a card on the system, or how's that going to work?
At this time, there will be no change to any of our U-Pass holders or C-Pass holders. You will continue to use your ID as your pass.
Okay. Will the card have a picture? I know when I got my, 100 years ago, I got my retiree or my disabled card. The card had my little picture in the back as part of it became part of an ID. Will these, or are these?
So,
that will add
so
to the
we are able
getting
to
the card is what I was thinking of, and
yes,
and
yes.
tie Grand Central up with people getting these cards.
So there is no requirement to have a picture on your card unless you are a reduced fare rider. And so if you are a regular rider paying a regular fare, you do not have to have your photo on the card. And if you are a TD rider, that card will be registered to you, and you do not have to have your photo on the ID. If you are a reduced fare rider, which means that, so you don't fall in either of those two categories, but you are eligible for a reduced fare, such as seniors, disabled, Medicare, and students who are not part of a U-Pass program, we will ask that instead of having your reduced fare ID that you had before at PSTA, you'll now have your photo on the Flamingo Fare card. And so for those passengers that are using those reduced fare options, they will have to go to a service center to get their card and get their photo on the ID. We think that because the regular rider and the transportation disadvantaged rider will not need the photo, that would minimize the time that we would need in order to process all those reduced fare options.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you've done some thinking on this. Who else has a question?
I do.
I saw. Okay, Sebastian.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused. The Flamingo Fair originally was between Pinellas County and Tampa, correct?
Well, it's bigger than that. Included Pasco and Sarasota and Hernando
Okay,
County.
my question is,
Yes.
Is this the new name for the fare structure in Pinellas County? In other words, you buy a card, you're buying a Flamingo Fare, or is that something different?
So the Flamingo fares, right, the media that you're using, which is the card or the mobile app, can be used on PSTA, HART, Pasco, and Sarasota, and Hernando as well. However, each agency has their own fare policy. And so our fare policy says our rides are $2.25 each, and we have a fare capping option, which allows our riders to max out at $5 a day and $70 a month. If you go and you ride over in Hillsborough, you will have their fare policy and their fare capping. And so let's just take an example of you're a regular PSTA rider and you decide to go to a Lightning game and you are going to go over to Hart. So you take the 300X over to Marion Street, and then you decide that you're going to take the Downtowner or some other service that Hart has down to the stadium. You would pay $2.25 to get on the 300X, and then you would pay $2 to get on the on whatever service Hart would have to get you down to the arena. That $2.25 that you paid will be put into your list of rides that you've taken over the month for PSTA, but then you'll have another list on Hart, so it's $2. So let's say on the way back, you take the 300X back, you'll have $2.25 on the 300X, $2 on what Hart is doing, and another $2.25 on the 300X on the way back. So you see that the amount that you've paid on the Hart system will only be on the Hart system. I think, we've tried really hard to put together a fare policy that would work for the region. And I think the shared technology was as far as we got. And so I think we've done a really good job to be better, but we still have other things that we can do as we move forward as a region.
Well, maybe I'm jumping the gun, okay?
Cassandra, can I take a stab at this? Sebastian?
Sure.
Yes, the Flamingo is going to replace the Go card, right? There will be no more Go cards. We'll be using Flamingo. Also, for people in Pasco, instead of their PCP card, they'll be using Flamingo. People in Hart, instead of Hart cards, will be using Flamingo. So we couldn't work out sharing fares. So you're still going to end up having as if you had those 3 different cards. However, the hope is, Cassandra, right? I mean, this is a hope. You had to get on one technology before we could have the common sense. A year from now or 5 years from now, people are going to look at each other and say, geez, we're on the same technology. Can't we help our riders? Right. But we couldn't do it today. There was just too much. It was too big an elephant to do in one bite. So we're going to have the 5 counties, no matter what bus you get on, you're going to use your phone or your card. It's always going to be pink and black instead of green and white, blue and white, green and white. It's going to all be the same card today, but you're going to be paying into 5 different pots, and some may give you a discount. I'm thinking of a guy who goes every day from here to USF Hospital because he works up there, right, and having 2 running balances potentially.
Well, like if you do, that's why we left the passport as a product in the system, right? So if you go every day over to Hillsborough County, we would recommend that you get the passport, which is, you used to buy it on a calendar basis. Now it is still on a calendar basis. It's $95, and you that's all you pay for the month. But you do have to pay.
You go up every day to Pasco because you work at the judge's office, and there is no passport. There you go. But so the point is, right.
So, but in this case, it's really more for the occasional rider to cross the county lines that you would have what we call a stored value on your card, right? So you'd load your card with funding, and you could use it on any one of those systems.
May I ask 2 more questions?
Please, Sebastian, go ahead.
Okay, I don't want to take all the time, but.
No, you're doing great.
Okay, I'm a military veteran, and I know that the veterans used to get, or still getting, disability cards from the VA. VA hands them out like candy. These guys don't have a quarter in their pocket. How does this work with them?
So we We do not have a veteran fare on PSTA at this time, though we have talked about that. We do have a disabled fare, so if you do have a card that indicates that you are disabled, you can go to one of our customer service centers and get what we call a half fare, a reduced fare card. So that is what I was talking about getting your photo on the card. So if you do have a disability, you go to one of our service centers and you
So
can show
basically,
that.
the veterans will get a card from the VA or something from the VA? Because
There'll be a social
I
worker.
know that they were getting free cards.
Yeah, Sebastian, you get that disability card from the VA, and you can show that to get half price transit. You can ride transit for half price. We take that as evidence of you qualifying for the half price fare.
Okay,
And
so
then-
they will have to pay a fare.
Yeah,
Yes.
half price. You get half
Okay.
price. And then that will be loaded onto your Flamingo card or your Flamingo account that you are a half price person, and then it'll just only take out half price every time.
Okay.
It sounds, Sebastian, like you're currently saying the VA is kind of handing out vouchers, essentially, that they've got a stack of go cards in.
No, they were handing out day passes, like, I rode the bus system,
As an
and I've seen a
informal
lot of
system.
these guys, and I know they don't have any money in their pocket.
I got it.
They're loaded with passes.
Right, so.
I'm not against it, but I'm just saying, I'm just
same.
wondering how it squares with that.
We do have arrangements with several agencies across the county where they buy those passes from us and they then distribute them to their clients. And so for us, those are purchased passes. How they distribute them is up to them. In the future, we will have, instead of the mag stripe cards, those agencies may decide to issue regular clients a extended use plastic card, or they may decide that if they give them out periodically or more sporadically, we do have some limited use cards, so there'll be paper cards that have a little chip in them that they'll.
So the VA was
they'll
buying
use.
the cards from you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
I just thought you were giving it to them.
And not just the VA, but other, whoever, Catholic Services.
Yes,
the
right.
VAR.
There's about 30 agencies in the county that we consider our bulk purchasers, yes.
How do you think this is all going to work out on the beach trolley during the season?
Oh, I think it's gonna work out great. I think it's gonna work out really well, especially as we get to a mobile app. A lot of tourists, they wanna know, how do I get from one place to another before they even get here? And now they can download the app before they arrive, set up their accounts. And I think the group pass is specifically designed for families that are coming to the area and want to ride for the day. And it makes it really easy. I can't tell you how many stories I've heard about, a family getting on one of the trolley stops on the beach with a $20 bill.
Right.
And now we've just eliminated that problem.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Cassandra,
Thanks for the questions. Yeah.
I had that specific problem when I flew to Louisville. I said, you guys must have a week pass for a volunteer. They said, yeah, come downtown and get it. I'm like, well,
Right.
I want to get it at the airport. It was like, no, we're not open till Monday. Well, I'm flying in on Saturday.
Yes, even for us as transit professionals going to a transit conference, in a city and ages ago, 10 years ago, you would have to get to the conference hotel, right? So you're leaving the airport, you're buying your pass, you get on it because, I know Brad and I never take an Uber when we go to a conference. We always take, the public transportation that's available. And so we'd buy a pass, we'd get to the conference and they'd hand us a 3-day pass. Well, by that time it's too late. And now, even our own industry, right? You register for the conference, you get a downloadable app, you get a promo code, and you're coming from the airport and you've got your pass before your plane lands. You have your transit pass, and that's exactly where we want to be.
That's whether you're coming from Cincinnati or if you're coming from Frankfurt or Tokyo or wherever. Tampa Bay is now at the leading edge of this. This is wonderful. That's why I'm so happy for Flamingo. Who else? Some other folks have their hands up. Chelsea? All right, Jason, why don't you go first?
Okay, I just have a couple questions. One, why was the $3 amount chosen for the price of the card? I think there's a similar card in Miami that when I go down there, it's only like a couple bucks or less. And like, also, they also have vending machines, ticket vending machines at like some especially, well, they have a Metro Rail, so that's different. But like, I know we have like Grand Central, we have Park Street, we have the Largo Center, we have the Pinellas Park Center, we have the malls and the Tyrone Mall Center. Like we have different centers. Isn't it possible for us to get ticket vending machines there for people to purchase and like not have to wait in line order for the like at many of these places that I just mentioned, there's no staff. There's just the buses. And that would be, in my opinion, ideal locations for ticket vending machines for someone who just comes and needs a ticket. And also, it's, there's still COVID. I still don't, want to touch things other people have touched generally. So like, to me, that's also a more hygienic option. But it's also, it makes it more accessible to a lot of people. Especially
let's answer that one before you go on. Go ahead, Cassandra.
Sure. So let's start with your last question about, hygiene. I think if you wanted to have the most hygienic option, it would be the mobile app. And there is no charge for the mobile app. And I think we would encourage people to get the mobile app. And if we had the option of only doing the mobile app, we would have. But having the mobile app is not accessible to everyone. And so we have the smart card as the second option. And we did look into ticket vending machines, but those really have to have a bigger system. And you'll notice a lot of the systems that do have them are generally high capacity systems, like trains. Additionally, we know that as a consortium of agencies across the region, that because of the salinity in the air that we have here, especially on the beach, it is very difficult to keep a ticket vending machine in good working order. And so we thought let's try the system that we have, focus people on the mobile app as much as we possibly can, and then use the card and the recharging the card and the retail network as a second option. One of the things that I sort of glossed over was there will be retailers across the county that will have these like gift cards on a rack. When you go to Publix and you see the gift card rack, the Flamingo card will be on there as an option of something to buy. And so it becomes an air-conditioned way to get, make sure that our technology continues to work, and we're not making big investments in the capital of a ticket vending machine when we have those other technology options. And then your first question was about the $3 charge. That was a regional decision based on the price of the card to us. Did I get all your questions? Because there was a lot in there, Jason.
It was.
I got everything.
But it wasn't there. But yes, you did answer my question. I guess it's just me personally wishing that, the different agencies work more closely together. Like I'm going to Tampa tomorrow and I have very few options. And it's really frustrating. Like, I know I had to last week spend $40 on a Lyft to get back home because I couldn't make the last 7 o'clock 300. No, it's not. Is it 6 o'clock? 300 or 100 to get back home. So it's and then to hear that the regional paratransit has been like canceled, it's just really frustrating to honestly live in this region right now when you're not using cars. Just being honest.
I hope that at some point in the very near future, I'm coming to you and telling you that we're going to expand our connections to Tampa. We do have some plans in the works. We just have to make sure that they're funded.
It's by the way, the same going south to north, the handoff between the 34 and the 19. You have to leave downtown by a certain time or you get stranded at East Bay Road, calling an Uber to get up to Curlew. I mean, it's the same. It'll be great when we get enough demand, the tail has to wag the dog. When we get enough demand to run the buses later, to run the bus more often, we need, it's that old story. The customers have to drive the business, so.
Well, I understand that, but also I think it's partly just the region we're in. Like we're the Tampa Bay area, if you look at census records, is larger than Denver, but we have significantly less investment in transit. We're also similar size to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and those cities, even though they're like us, they're twin cities, they're similar distances apart, and they also still have feuds or whatever between inter-regional feuds, but they're still somehow managing to have regional transit. And it's just really frustrating to live in the third largest state in the country and have such poor transit in this state. I'm just saying.
And the way to solve that is on election day, because all that stuff comes out of Tallahassee. Who else? I see hands up. Maxwell, is that your question?
Actually, I've got two.
Great.
The first is regarding the app. I was looking on the App Store and I'm seeing 6 reviews. 5 of them are negative, saying that the app doesn't work at all. The QR scanner doesn't work. People are saying that they put money on it, but then they get locked out of their account, that there's no customer service to talk to. So is there anything being done to, fix the bugs in the app? And especially, we do need to have some kind of customer service if there is a problem.
So we are going through intense training right now of all of our customer service agents to be able to address those issues. And so I think that those will be resolved. The app in right now is just, it's just at the beginning stages. So if you do get the app, you do not have to put any money on the card at this time in order to ride at least through September. There shouldn't be any bugs in the app itself, but to get assistance, all of our customer service agents should be trained at this time in order to take those questions. So, I mean, we can take a look at those dates of when those reviews were done. I'm pretty sure that we've addressed a lot of the comments that have been made. So, and just to go back to the last discussion, for any of you who are who want to, we can sign you up for the emergency ride home program, and that you can get up to 6 taxi trips. I think it's a month. In order to have in emergencies when the bus is not available. And so we'll get that information through Mary Ann to you so that you have it, so that in those cases where you do have to get some other way to get home, that you'll have some options. But thank you, Maxwell, for the comment about the app. Certainly we'll look into those and make sure that we fix anything that's an issue. Oh, and sorry, my boss is raising his hand, so.
I'm letting this run a little long because Flamingo Fair is like the most important thing to come up in 15 months, certainly, if that's all right with everybody. I'm not mismanaging. This is just so important to all of us. Brad, you raised your hand. Do you need to go? Oh, you're muted. You're muted, Brad.
That's the number one thing said in the last 15 months. Yeah. I was just going to chime in on what Maxwell said as a rider, and I was a beta tester of the app. I agree with you. I just read the comments on the app, and I agree with them. Yes, there are glitches, and but that's why I think Chair Kovar, you said it right. This is very important. I think you guys are all going to get the Flamingo cards or the app, and this is the way it's going to be. It's very easy to download. It's very easy. Cassandra's done a great job of explaining all the details of the fair policy that's behind it. But at least the way I do it, I'm just going to put $20 on there. It's just like a wallet, and then I won't have to worry about it. I don't really notice that Pasco County might be a little bit different than Pinellas or what. I don't know. I'm just gonna, and then the thing beeps at you when you get low and you put more money on it. You can put $5 on it or whatever, and just keep loading it up. That's all great. The app, I think, does have challenges in at least the iPhone version of it does. And so I think the TRAC committee can really be helping us get these glitches fixed.
Well, again, I think this is also a reason that we want people to open their Flamingo accounts. You don't have to put any money on it at this time. Take a couple of months to try it out before putting any money in, and you'll continue to ride with just a simple registered account.
Right. And as Gloria said, mechanics of using it, see what kind of things are working.
Right.
Just get used to it.
We do want to get people, yeah.
Right, is that correct?
I can't find the raise a hand on my screen.
That's it?
But for Cassandra, the emergency ride home used to be specifically from school or from employment. I've run into several cases where I've gotten held up and I can't make the bus and I get stranded up at the Walmart area up there for changing from the 19 to the 34. And I've gotten to where I've had to actually pay for a cab or an Uber or something. And is there some way to make that work?
Yeah, so let's, at the next meeting, Mary Ann, why don't you put on the agenda, we'll put a discussion of the regional emergency ride home program and make sure that everybody can get set up and talk about how we promote this service to all of our riders.
Great idea.
Thank you. So wait, we still have Chelsea, you have your hand up before we, Jason, is yours a follow-up? Is that?
Jason, it is, but no, I spoke and Chelsea should go first.
Okay, where's Chelsea?
Okay, yeah. No, I'm here.
Okay,
am I audible? You hear me? Okay, good. You said you lost me, so I got concerned. Anyway, so I was just going to say, sort of as somebody who lived through the Chicago transition from the Chicago card to the Ventra system.
Ventra, yes.
I don't know if you guys, when you were researching, heard about all of the hiccups and struggles of that transition.
Yes.
But I think everybody should kind of be prepared for a initial like rocky first month or two. I know that I got waved onto buses free multiple times just because like everybody's fare card was not working. Like all of the Ventra cards were so consistently like buggy and troubled and like such a problem that drivers were just kind of like, all right, that we know.
But I've been up there recently and
it works
all
great now.
Worked out, right? So I mean, I think again,
it was like that initial rocky month, and then after that, like everything got worked out, like they ironed it out.
Yes.
But like I think having this initial period like fare free with Flamingo is really going to help avoid some of that initial like, oh, you know, my card didn't read, you know, oh, this didn't do that. Or like, oh, you know, I was having this issue with my account. The other thing that I was going to bring up, actually Ventra related, and Jason's kind of question about the cost of the cards reminded me of this when they brought that up, was so with Ventra, when you buy a card, you pay $5. And if you don't register it, that's just $5 you have given to the people who run Ventra. If you register your card, they give it back as like a fare credit for you. So I was wondering if PSDA had considered anything along those lines. Like if you register it, you get it as a fare credit. If you don't, then hey, you just gave us $3.
That was our original incentive prior to COVID. But we thought that giving people 2 months free would be a better option for us in terms of incentivizing people to switch over to Flamingo. And so we did have something like that option, but thought that this would be a better opportunity for us long-term. And like you said, to work out the bugs before people are actually paying fares, I think is pretty critical.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Chelsea. Maxwell, you still have your hand up. Did you say you had another question?
Yes. really more personal or more localized issue. I live on 4th Street South. It is very hard to get from East St. Pete to West St. Pete if you're in the southern part of the city. Is there any talk of, I don't know, adding a new route or something? Because down here on South 4th Street, most businesses are on 34th Street or very far north. And it's just hard to get around from 4th Street, unless something's already on 4th Street. If I want Burger King, I gotta go all the way up to 4th Street and 38th Avenue north from 26th Avenue south. That's a long way.
It is.
Yeah, although that's changing the subject, but if you could do that quickly, if you want to take a stab at it, if someone or
You can go to Taco Bell there. That's closer.
Actually, no, it's closed.
It's closed?
Their lines closed all the time now.
Wait, come on, guys, because we're running way long. We still need to talk about our cards.
Yeah, Mary Ann?
Can we?
Okay, never mind then, Duncan, you're.
I can understand that that's a topic maybe for another day. I just thought I should bring it up.
Yes, well, we can address that another time about service planning and the things that we're doing. But a lot of that has to do with the funding that we receive and the ability to keep the services that we have going as much as we can. So,
okay.
But it's a good topic for another time, certainly much longer than we have for today. But thank you for bringing it up. Mary Ann, please put that on the agenda list. Thank you.
Yes, I will.
Okay. And with that, let me just be cruel here and just cut this one off and say, that was great, Cassandra. Thank you. Whatever we can do to help, stand behind you and the like, then let's go ahead and open it up to start talking about us getting our flamingo.
Sure, yes. So that was a great conversation. And so Mary Ann is going to ask you if you want the plastic smart card or the mobile app. As TRAC members, you do get free rides. So we will make sure that you get your Flamingo accounts, you get those set up. Again, you can have it however you want it, your way every time, mobile app or smart card. So let her know.
We'll do that through email later.
Yes,
right?
through email, no later than June 18th. If you decide that you want to just do a smart card, she will mail those to you. If you decide that you want to do the mobile app, you'll receive an email from Mary Ann with details how to activate your account. PSTA Access paratransit users will continue to receive multi-trip passes to use in addition to their Flamingo accounts. So I think Gloria and Kim, for sure, you'll get both options. So please let Mary Ann know which of the regular service that you want to have. Just as a reminder, according to the TRAC bylaws, if members miss a meeting without a documented excuse, you don't receive the monthly pass. So now we're going to do it all digitally. So make sure that if you're going to miss a meeting, you tell Mary Ann. Normally what we do is we hand you the next month's pass at the meeting. This time she's going to do it all in the back office. And so be sure to tell her if you're going to miss a meeting. And we do have some attendance requirements, though. This has been one of the best groups. I think maybe it's because it's all virtual and you're all on screen, but you guys have been great about showing up. So I don't think anybody will have a problem moving forward.
Yes. If I can just add, oh, sorry, Duncan. I just wanted to add one thing.
Go ahead, Mary Ann.
I just wanted to add one thing. The goal is to get in your hands either the instructions to get the app, the smart card so you have it. Kim and Gloria will have their DART passes before July 5th when the whole thing is launched. And ideally, you are going to report to me any quirks, any issues you have, so we can iron this all out. So by the time fairs officially start and on September 5th, we'll have all of those quirks
September
ironed out.
1st, yeah, September 1st.
September 1st.
So we as TRAC members will report to you rather than calling the 800 number or whatever tech support. Is that the plan?
Yes, this is it's an institutional account. It's a test of an institutional account, and it's kind of set up differently than individual accounts.
That probably makes sense, and we're super users, so we're gonna be riding it more, we're gonna have maybe different issues than a typical user, so why not? Okay, thank you.
Yes. So I will email you, and it's a pretty hard deadline Friday. I will be emailing you.
Sure. Sure, we
Thanks.
only got 2.5 weeks till the fairs start. I see another hand up. Are there any questions? Other than we need to make sure we get our information to you. Roman, I see a hand up.
Yeah, quick question. For us, as we're kind of a little bit different user category, is there a difference between a mobile app or Flamingo card? So if there is none, do you have a preference for us to be? I can do both, but I wonder what's more important for you.
What?
I was wondering that too.
Yeah, I think you choose what's right for you and we'll work the rest out. Thank you, though. I appreciate that very much to be testers. If everyone chooses a mobile app, maybe we'll ask somebody to choose a smart card. But I think for right now, just tell us what your preference is, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Thank you.
I mean, it's been an interesting conversation about what people would prefer. Brad prefers the mobile app. But Bob Lasher's daughter prefers the card because she doesn't want to put her phone down to tap it.
I'm very concerned that my phone, I'm having battery problems and the phone just dies at the wrong time. So I'm thinking of maybe just carrying a second phone with me now, which I do so I can listen to podcasts. Just have the number there too. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
I used to do that. I mean, not used to do that, but when I first started using the Flamingo app years ago when it first came out, that happened a couple times when my phone died. It's like, oh no. So, but hey, I like the app.
Anyone else comment or question? It sounds like we learned you.
Another quick question. Is there any reason that we can't have a card tied to the same account as an app so that if there's a problem with one, we can use the other?
So because they do have to be separate because of the fare capping. So in this case, if you had a card and an app, you could give someone else your card and then you would reach that $70 monthly pass with two people rather than one person. Mm-hmm. So we do have to keep those separate. Those are separate fare capping accounts. If you wanted to carry both, you could, but you wouldn't necessarily get all of the credits on one account.
What I was thinking, scamming was the word we're looking for.
Yeah, right? Well, what I was thinking on that is, couldn't it be built in that you can't be using both of them, at the same time, so that if you're using the app, unless you switch, then you're only on the card, since it is computerized. Is there any reason that couldn't be done?
It's not available at this time. While we do have a fast connection, I don't think that is not a possibility right now. So we're moving forward with this option of you either have to have one or the other in order to enjoy the fare capping opportunity. If you wanted to carry a spare card for those rare moments that your phone might not work, you can certainly do that, but it would be considered two accounts.
Okay. It would save stuffing a couple dollars in while you're trying to get home on the truck.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where, if you would set out, this is my emergency pass and I'm gonna put $5 on it or $10 on it but most of the time I'm gonna use the mobile app. I think that would be something that you could consider it as
very salient information.
Or debit card in your wallet. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm very interested in this.
Yes, please, go ahead.
How does this work with mobility on demand?
So those are two separate systems. So this is just for the fixed route service.
Okay. So if you're using mobility on demand, you're going to have to give them a credit card?
Yeah. Yes. So that's, yes, that is a separate quote wallet. Yes.
I think I got it.
Okay.
And obviously, this will be in the future, but when we start paying for it, can I associate my credit card with my account? So like Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks, will it just automatically blip, put another 25 on it, or?
Oh,
do I-
yes, yes. You can do that all online, have an auto recharge of, I think it's as low as $5.
Perfect. Yeah, that's what happens to me. I order 6, 7 coffees and bloop, it puts through another $20 or whatever.
Right, yes, right.
Okay. I'm not worried about it. And I'm not having to do it $100 at a time. I just wanted to, put a little on. Okay.
Right.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of thought went into this. It's just a lot of details. But I hope we've covered everything. I'm sure we haven't. But we'll work out the final glitches over the next couple months and it'll be right as rain.
So July 5th, we start, August 5th, September 5th is when it's going to start working with billing then.
Yes.
Okay, great. Sounds like a plan. If that's enough, then we can wrap this up and then go on and ask, does anyone have any other information, any comments or questions on any subject? What do we call that? Other business or member comments on any subject? And then let's wrap this up. We're pushing 5:30. And thank you all for your patience. This was great information for us. Anybody raise a hand, wave, or if you don't have a picture, just talk. Then I know I've been talking all day. Let me add that I've got friends up in Dunedin who saw, I cannot say, Ava.
Ava.
I've not been up there now. I've been down in South County. The feedback I got was very funny, which was they were all surprised by the novelty and they all looked at it, but they were all too busy going to dinner that none of them actually wrote it. But as I've been hearing this concept of the elevator operator, that we're trying to get people used to it. None of them were afraid. None of them were like, oh, it's going to kill me. Oh, that's stupid. All of the feedback was, oh, that's really neat. I just didn't have the time to get on it. And I said, well, why don't you go back tomorrow? I mean, come on, you live in Dunedin, don't take your car, ride your bike, and all of them are literally all of a sudden, I ought to do that. None of them have. So I'm still poking them all on email, but none of them were, I don't know, what are all the negative things people say? Oh, that's a waste of money. Oh, none of that kind of, all of the feedback was, well, that's really cool. I just haven't got to it. So.
Well, that's all right. She'll be there till mid-August. And then we'll move her to Clearwater Beach. So she'll be around for a few more months. Please go take a ride.
Yeah. And so it's great to see that people that they're all already acclimated. I mean, that was the whole point, was to get people acclimated to it. And well, certainly with the folks, of course, my friends, all of us are not afraid of technology and not afraid of that kind of stuff. All right, any other comments on any other business, open comments, questions? Then if not, I'll remind everybody that our next meeting is, again, the next meeting is our last virtual meeting for July. The July meeting is on July 20th. It will still be in Zoom. However, starting in August, we're going to have hybrid, right? We're not certain yet. In July, we'll describe what happens in August. How is that?
So send your request for a Flamingo mobile app or smart card to Marianne by June 18th. Also request what kind of snacks you want for our first meeting back together. Right? Is that what you were saying? We're going to be all back together, so let's have snacks?
Healthy one, please. We don't have healthy options.
All right,
But
thank you.
for this one meeting, we'll take requests. How about that?
Very good. All right, everybody, then great. We'll see you in a month. And remember to get your request in so we can start riding that bus and helping with the ride. All right, everybody.
Thank you, guys have been great. Appreciate all your
Thanks.
questions.
Great
so much.
meeting.
Bye.
See you in a month. Bye.